songs about real life and the heart behind them of a Christian and seeing it through a glass lens that has hope. And they didn't complain about that. But come the second record, they wanted to hear God's name. They felt like it would sell more records. And that sent me a different direction. I felt like marketing the name of Jesus was wrong. And I said, I don't leave his name out on purpose, but I also don't add it in on purpose just for the sake of marketing. And although everything that I just said is true, there was a hardness building in my heart because I wanted so badly to be picked up and ran with by the mainstream. I wanted to be this Christian artist who blew up in the general market. And so although some of their agenda was impure and selfish, so was mine. And so I recorded this next song begrudgingly and then said I will never play it live. And then there was a movie that came out that used it called Bruce Almighty. And I remember thinking the irony in that it's in this huge film about this content. And so little by little, as my heart has softened, which has been a really long journey for me, I sat down with someone I really respect. His name is Thad Cockrell, and we were having coffee. He was having coffee with my husband and I told him the story that I just told you, and I said, I don't play it live, I just don't. And I thought he was going to be like, oh yeah, good for you, stick it to the man, and and he said, wow, you have an audience that loves that song. And I said, I know, but they don't know the whole story. And he said, exactly, they don't know the whole story. And what is in that song, the content, is true. And the story is that C.S. Lewis had a conversation once with someone who said, within each of us is a vacuum, and we are constantly trying to fill it. Some of us fill it with money, some of us fill it with food, some of us fill it with status, some of us fill it with sex, some of us fill it with our addictions, left and right. And there's this temporary fix, and then it's empty again. And it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. And until we fill it with God, we will continue that cycle. And how easy it is to say, fill it with God, and how different it looks to actually do it. And doing it means surrendering all of that, and loving something more than yourself. And he said, so if you have an audience that loves that song, that listens, you should be ashamed for not playing it. And I sat there in that coffee shop, very humble. And he said, I say that in love, but you should always play that song because it's truth. And people connect with it. And I think maybe God's trying to teach you something through it. And so, this is God Shakes the and that whatever mood I was in is the mood that I expected everybody else to be in when he walked in the door. And he confesses to sitting in the driveway coming home from work and just not wanting to come inside. Wondering what's her temperament today? Is she happy? Is she stressed out? Is she overwhelmed? And he recognized my artistic behavior and nature. And he recognized that some of those idiosyncrasies about me make me who I am, and they make me a songwriter, they make me a performer, a singer, speaker, author, whatever. And they fuel into who God created me to be. But all of us, I think, would agree that some of our biggest strengths are our biggest weaknesses. And self-absorbed is an understatement for how I had become. And I was a young mother of 3, surviving, not thriving, and not even realizing or aware at all how my behavior was affecting my husband and pushing him away. And that doesn't justify some of his responses to that. But 3 years ago this Christmas, on December 27th, he'd had enough. And we'd spent about 6 weeks building up to December 27th, where it was the worst it had ever been, and there was just darkness pouring in through my house everywhere. And 2 days after Christmas, he left. And he said, I don't want to be married to you anymore. I don't love you. and I wanted a divorce. And to say I was devastated is probably the biggest understatement I could think of. I remember, and I again said some of this yesterday, so some of you, it's going to be deja vu, but I cried so hard, the blood vessels burst in my face, wanting him back, wanting to fix what I felt like I had broken. And I knew I had pushed him away, and then his response to that was sin. He didn't just go off in a quiet corner and cry. He became someone I didn't even know. And it was so easy and quick to blame him and point his finger. But I realized I had to own the fact that although I wasn't doing what he was doing, I had not brought him in. I had pushed him away. And when I couldn't change him, because you cannot change anybody, only God can do that. But what you can do is work on yourself. And so I began through counseling and I was grabbing at anything I could. I would join a Bible study and go to the chiropractor and then see a general practitioner, and then I would go I would just, anything I could do, like fix me. What is broken? And I had everything about myself examined. And I was like, God, I'm willing to do whatever you ask of me. And in James 1:19, I had it written on my hand for a long time. I should probably have it tattooed right there. But it's be slow to speak and quick to listen. And I think God was saying, shut up. Just shut up and listen to me. Do you want the same husband as? Do you want the same marriage? Do you want to be the same girl? Because I want to make you better. I want to make things better than they were before. And I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know if that meant a different husband. I didn't know what that meant, but I knew that whatever God wanted, that's what I wanted. And so little by little, I began to let go of Jeremy Lee. And I fell so madly in love with Jesus. Just the way he protected me in moments of being a single mom. I have a completely new respect for single mothers, because when the electricity goes out, or the tire goes flat, or the battery won't start, or you just need somebody to talk to at the end of the night, he was gone. And some of those bruises and scrapes that my baby needed me to fix, sometimes they needed daddy. And I had to do both. And I just remember when, I love the story that I was able to tell yesterday, that my friend brought me spaghetti. She brought me just a basket full of everything to make for spaghetti, and a journal, and a devotional book. And I remember thinking I didn't have time to go to the store. There wasn't much in the pantry because I was overwhelmed. And there was spaghetti, and a reminder that I wasn't alone. With God. And then a neighbor helped me when the tire went flat, and another neighbor helped me when the battery died, and another neighbor helped when the lights went out. God was protecting, he was providing. And I remember almost giving him a human face and just falling so in love with him romantically that I was able to let go of my husband in a way that I needed to. But God was doing something. He was doing something so much bigger than I ever imagined. That while he was breaking my heart and making it new and giving us a new relationship, he was doing the same thing to my husband, who it seemed impossible. And I heard your pastor talk about impossible today. He is the God of impossible. There is nothing impossible for him. And he was breaking the heart of this man. And what's interesting with your church, never happened before until Tammy told me yesterday, that on February 12th, 3 years ago almost, which is the birth of your church, my husband asked if he could meet the kids and I for pizza. And so I had become kind of tough, single mom, like I don't need him anymore. we got this new thing going on with Jesus, and, I'm, whatever. And so, so I get to 5 Points Pizza in East Nashville. All of us are from Nashville, by the way. And I walk in, and he's already there, and he's ordered everybody a slice, he's ordered everybody their drink, and I love root beer. And there's a root beer. And I absolutely resented the fact that he ordered me a root beer because that meant he knew me, and I didn't want him to know me anymore. He knew everything about me, even down to my favorite soda. And so just to be able to see, the server comes and says, "Did you have everything you need?" I was like, "No, I don't want this. I'll have a Diet Dr. Pepper." And I've never ordered a Diet Dr. Pepper in my life. And so switches out the drink, and I, drinks this beverage that I absolutely cannot stand. And I do overhear my husband under his breath say, and I was like, "You don't know me." And I had not made eye contact with him for months, and if you'll recall, leading up to our separation, we had spent a month and a half as complete strangers, and then now we've been apart here almost 2 months where he's lived somewhere else, and I quit looking in his eyes because I saw someone I did not know, and it scared me because I had been so intimate